What's up, Rainmakers? It is so good to be with you. We have been wanting to record this episode for several weeks now, but hashtag life has just gotten in the way. And so we put it in our calendar, as we've learned to do with all important things of our life. If it's not calendared, sometimes it doesn't happen. But this is like the number one question I feel like as a mom and business owner that I've gotten asked in the last 6 months. And so we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to give you just an inside scoop, some more personal stories about what's been going on in our life. And Steven, I think, is going to interview me, and we're going to bounce back and forth and see where this goes. But the number one question I have been getting asked in the last 6 months is, how has the transition from going from one kiddo to two kiddos? And I'm excited to dive in because I feel like I am still learning, but I've learned some key things. And it's just funny, like, no matter if I'm being asked by somebody in our Rainmaker community, some random friend who's about to have a second baby, it doesn't matter. I've gotten asked this question so many times. And so I'm like, man, we need to sit down and do an episode. So here we are doing an episode.
I'm excited for this episode. I'm excited to hear. So let's just pretend I'm a stranger coming up to you, Chelsey, on the street. Chelsey, I see that you had one child, and now you haveth two childs.
Oh my gosh.
What's that called? No, you bear two children.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's start over. So I say I come with you, Chelsey, on the street. I'm like, Chelsey, I see that you had one kid, and now there's two kids that look like the same. They came from you. Okay. And I see that you're also a high-level business owner. How has this transition been for you? Like, what do you say to that person?
Overall, it really has been super positive, great experience for us and for our family. I feel like we've learned so many things about ourselves, both Steven and I. I've learned that I need to schedule more things out. And I think overall it's just been good. And I feel like if you're a parent right now and you're a business owner and you feel like you're at max capacity, you feel like, I don't even know how I would be able to afford or just mentally get over the hurdle going from like one baby to the next, or you know that transition and change is coming and you have some hesitation or even like some anxiety about what is ahead. I just want to release to you that it's going to be good. And it's going to be okay. And I was actually, like, Steve and I believe in investing in ourselves and paying to move faster. And so with both boys, I've had a birth coach. I've paid for birth coaching and doulas and extra training so that I can get my mindset right and also educate myself so that I can have confidence, because I believe competence leads to confidence. And in both of my birthing experience, I feel like I had confidence. But something came up while I was doing sort of like a counseling session of sorts with a birth coach. And I was telling her, I was like, man, like, you know, I feel like I'm at my capacity. It was when I was pregnant with Oliver, our second son. And I was just at a place where, like, there's a lot of things moving in our business. We were being stretched in so many different ways. I was tired. I would have really good days and really bad days. And I remember processing with her and just saying, like, I don't know how I'm going to have two kids. I don't know how I'm going to care for two kids. And she stopped me and she just said, Chelsey, like, right now you are given the grace to be pregnant and have a toddler. You are not given the grace yet to have a toddler and a baby. When you have that baby, you will be given the grace to be able to do everything that you need to do and to be able to do it well. And she just said, you are taking on a burden that you are not equipped to carry yet until you actually have that baby. Like, yes, I believe that when I was pregnant with Oliver, like, I was a mom of two in a way, but I wasn't, because he wasn't physically outside of my womb yet. And so she just said, like, it was like I was trying to skip ahead and I was in my mind trying to wrap my head around something that wasn't there yet. And I feel like how oftentimes we want to skip ahead and we like play out outcomes and circumstances in our mind that actually haven't happened. And for me, at least, I've had to really check myself. And when things are too far out and I don't have all the answers yet, I try and come up with a game plan, A, B, and C in my mind, how I'm going to work it out, how things are going to happen. And oftentimes I rob myself of the process because I want to skip ahead. And oftentimes I stress myself out because I'm not there yet. And so she was trying to tell me, like, relax. You are where you're supposed to be. Focus on today. Yes, there are things that you can do to prepare for your next baby, you know, like telling Kaizen about he's going to have a brother and all of these things. Like, those are good things, but I was trying to take on something else. And so, I'm just really grateful for that advice that she gave me. And it just released this like pressure of like, I don't have to figure it all out. Like right now I have a 6-month-old and I have a toddler. I don't need to figure out what their lives and how I'm going to parent when they're teenagers because we're not there yet. So overall, things have been going really good with both babies. I know that was a long answer. And I would say, like, you know, we've had we had really good moments and we've had some really hard moments. You know, Kaizen was sick for like the first month that we brought Oliver home. And so he wasn't like himself fully. He was sick. We were trying to help him. And there is this transition period, both for you and for your toddler, as you bring this new baby home, and you try and get into this new routine. So it did take some time for us to get into that new routine. But now, like, it has been so sweet these last couple of months with both boys. And I have rearranged my schedule and I have had to figure out, like, what is my best yes? I think that's the biggest thing. I've really had to lean into what is my best yes, because I am passionate about our business. I do feel called to be in business, in loving our Rainmaker community, but I also want to be an incredible mom and I don't want to sacrifice on either end. So for me, I have to be super structured and planned out my working time so that I'm saying yes to the best things in our business.
Okay, so you said it's good. That's awesome. But like, okay, did that word that coach gave you, like, did that really come true? You know, like when you had the baby, like when you had Ollie, like how did it feel in that like transition? Did you really feel that kind of like happen where it's like, oh, now I have the capacity for this?
Yeah. It really did. I think you and I had to learn to work as a team. Like, you're taking Ollie, or I'm taking Kaizen, or asking for help, or we're going to go do this thing together. So yeah, I really do feel like, I had played things up in my head to be what they weren't going to be. Like I mean, there were hard moments, but it was like this ease in this transition. Yeah.
That's good. What about like now? Like, so Ollie's getting a little older. He's like, you know, has more consistent nap schedule. He's not like infant where he's like sleeping all the time anymore. Right? Like, what does your kind of day-to-day look like, you know, being a mom, being a business owner? Like, I feel like that is, like you said, one of the biggest things you've done is really learn to say yes to like the best full-bodied yes stuff, and then learn to say no to everything else. And you've really created a lot of boundaries in this season on like, this is what I do with my time, this is what I don't do with my time. So talk people through that a little bit, because like, you are 100% mom sometimes, you're 100% business owner, and you are bouncing back and forth in a really graceful way. So yeah, what does that look like week to week for you?
Well, thanks for affirming the bouncing back and forth in a graceful way, because I feel like as Ollie does change, you know, we are kind of turning the corner from 6 months to like 12 months with Oliver now. And so I feel like every couple of months I do like an evaluation of like, is this what I'm doing working, or do I need to change and shift? And so I feel like as we're recording this, there are some things that I am changing and shifting and seeing like, oh, this part isn't working so well for me. And I just try and be like really structured with my days and learning to like plan things out. I mean, you and I sat down and did a podcast episode of like planning out my dream week. Like, what does my ideal week look like? When I've looked back on the past, what is the week that I feel like most alive, where I feel like I'm touching every single point as far as like a business owner, mom, doing activities that I love, working out, like where my rhythm is in a good place. And that has taken like really scheduling things out. And I think right now, like if you like right now moving forward, I am realizing that I need to plan less in my schedule. I need I need afternoons that are totally wide open, that don't have a play date, that don't have a friend connection, that are just totally wide open, because I am realizing that I have always wanted to be on the go, like going to the next thing. And yes, I do plan things out in advance, but for me, I need to have open space in my calendar, specifically in the afternoon when Kaizen ended up from his nap, to not have to run to the next thing. Because I'm learning that my body and where we're at with the boys, like I need to slow down, and slowing down is really good.
That's
and
good.
You and I are even looking at, we just bought a big old whiteboard on Amazon that's going to go in our office.
Giant wall calendar.
Whiteboard. Sorry.
And it's like 7 feet long.
Yeah. And before the new year, we're going to plan out our family life first, and then like our business and mastermind second. Cause I feel like this last year we had a lot of travel that was really good, and a lot of it was really business focused. And I do not regret going on all of those trips that we did. But we need to sit down and have alignment first with our family, and what do we want? And we're going to be celebrating 10 years of marriage this coming March. And I want to do a family trip then. And I want to go to Hawaii in the summer with our family. And like, if we don't plan those first, it's going to get overtaken by like business and other commitments. And in that, we need like a marketing calendar, which we've done in the past, but we just really want to like lay it out so that we aren't like looking ahead and feeling like overwhelmed with the amount of stuff we have in our calendar. I think that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things I've learned as a mom of 2 specifically is that even though I can handle a lot in my capacity, I don't want my calendar booked out, even if it's with really good things, because that can be exhausting when I'm just like in the rat race, running from the one thing to the next.
That's good. This is a tip we got from a recent conference we went to. They said they do this for their company. They have this big wall calendar. And the reason they do that is because you get this really good visual vibe for the week. And this is what we do with your dream week too. We put it on a piece of paper. We color coded, like this is family time, this is business time. And you can really see like, does it feel balanced, right? With our business and our wall calendar, it's going to be like family trips. It's going to be business trips for like masterminds and trainings we're going to, conferences, that type of thing. And then we'll plan launches and things like that around those things to make sure we're not feeling too stretched. So I think that is a huge takeaway. And that's something we've gotten from even guests on the show, like Joe and Shelby, who do that. They plan out their trips ahead of time, like their family stuff first and then business. And, I just want to come back to your quote, like that, like if you don't calendar it, you're not committed, and like you've gotten so good at that. And we both are. We have a shared calendar where it's like, okay, we're working out. I'm working out. You're watching the baby. I'm working out. You're watching the babies. Like if it doesn't get in the calendar, it's not happening. And so another tip we got from another podcast guest, April and Eric, they talk about how they do a family meeting every week or every 10 days. Yeah. And like we do something similar too, where we look at the calendar and all this stuff. And when you're running high level operation, whether it's a big family, big business, or both, like you have to be planning these things. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think like Chelsey, in this last season, I've noticed you too, also having a lot more, now that you've structured things, you're a lot less reactive, and you also have a lot more time for yourself to do things like reading. Like you've been reading like more than ever, I'd say, over the last 6 months. So where did that start? Like, was that during maternity leave? And what have been some impactful, like kind of takeaways from some of those books you've been reading when it comes to like stepping into motherhood of 2?
Yeah, well, I would think any high level CEO, mom boss, and just mom in general, you just realize that I think for me, like if I let my mind go, if I let my mind rev up to like the next project, like I'm very return on investment, ROI focused. I see the vision. Like I see where we're going with Rainmakers, and I want to put in the work. I want to put people in place to get that thing done, because I want to see the most impact and I want to leave the most legacy, like for my family. And because I am very driven, it would be very easy for me to just constantly be thinking about the business and the next thing. And sometimes that's how I am as a mom. Like I'll be enjoying the backyard with Kaizen, but then I'll be like, oh, but this weekend, like I want to go do this thing. And I just start like revving up my mind. And I would say like, since having Oliver, I have had to really protect my nighttime routine. And that is even something that hit like a month ago where I was just, I came downstairs, it was like 10:30 at night and my mind was just racing. And I told Steven, I'm just like, I just feel like I can't calm down. Like I'm just too hyped, you know? And I think I had too many things on my plate and too many things in my brain were spinning.
It was like your phone was going off too. And you're like, I just can't like respond to another ping of my phone.
Yeah.
Like it was like everyone was texting you and like everything was like trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
You know, like
I just felt like everything was grabbing for my attention. And it wasn't even like bad things. It was like friends that I love that I want to respond to because I want to know about their life. But it was just like so much of that was going on. And I was honestly like addicted to the scroll. Like I just found myself being addicted to the scroll at night and just like exhausted and not getting good sleep. Like this was literally like a month ago. See, I'm talking about like the ebbs and flows. Like sometimes you start out strong and then you got to readjust. And so about a month ago, I was having to readjust and I was really overwhelmed. And so I was just like, Steven, like, I need something on my phone that is going to have screen time limitations. So I literally handed my phone to Steven and it still now is a thing where I have a limit on how much I can spend on like certain social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, which is where we spend a lot of our time for our business. And it shuts off at a certain time at night where I can't even access those apps. And Steven put that in place. And the first couple of nights, I like found myself trying to open the app and wanting to go back to it. And I realized like I've been addicted.
So she handed the phone to me, had me set this up, and I know the password she doesn't, which is hilarious. And then I also set up quiet time on the phone, which is like basically just like muted notifications during certain hours. So that it's just less like in that time of the night when you're winding down, we don't need Slack going off with someone from the company needing something, right? Like that can happen during the day, during her work hours. It shouldn't happen at night, you know? And so just setting up healthy, it's like we keep coming back to this with you. Like you're learning like that there's a lot of freedom in the restriction. There's a lot of freedom in boundaries. And like, this is just one of those things like the phone was kind of like taking over, right? Like drawing your energy, drawing your attention. We're like, no, phone, go in your place, set some boundaries. And then now you're building a lot of discipline around it. And like, you have been like, you know, I'm on my phone scrolling at night and you're reading, you know? So I also set it up for myself. Don't worry, I'm working on it. But I think that's been so key for you just to have that like mental recharge time.
Yeah. And so you're going back to the question about like, where's this desire to read and to learn more come from? And I've always known like readers are leaders. You hear that like knowledge is power, like all this stuff. And reading has been like a really hard thing for me. I grew up with a reading disability. And so I feel like there's a lot of stigma around reading. Like I was always felt like I was forced to read because I had to like check off the boxes for this reading therapy that I was in. So although like I love getting in stories and educating myself, reading just like part of my brain would just be like, no, don't read because it reminded me of all this stuff in my past. But as I got into my adult life and, specifically entrepreneurship, I knew that I wanted to be reading. So I've gone in different phases of reading. But I would say like my reading started with Oliver with maternity leave, like enjoying reading and finding books. And I wasn't like scrolling as much. Like I really was during that season, put my phone down. But then as I jumped back into work, and I really feel like I'm called to connect with people and to be on social media, more connecting with people. And so because I know that I'm creating a lot more content in this season and I'm on the podcast and I want to connect with people, that also, if I don't have good boundaries up, can overtake what I'm doing. And so it did like a couple months ago, like even though I was connecting with people and wanting to go in one direction with social media, I let social media kind of control me. And so I wasn't reading as much. I was scrolling more and all of that. And so I've really gone back to reading at night, and it's helping me like really wind down. And I've just found I have a stack of books that I want to get through this year, and I'm going to get through. And it's all stuff that really inspires me that I want to grow in, whether it's personal development, learning more about like hormones and my cycle. Like health is a big thing that we're focusing on this coming year and now till whenever. And so I'm just learning so much. But yeah, I think that was birthed out of maternity leave, really wanting to get into it. And then again, having to like cut back on social media, and then, doing more and enjoying and seeing the results. Like I wake up so much more refreshed from like that reading time before I go to bed. So that's where it was come from.
I feel like I've seen you reading probably 3 different types of books, right? You kind of have like, you've been having a lot of health books, like about health and optimization, biohacking, and just knowing more about kind of the health journey. And then I would say entrepreneurship, of course, and kind of like business, like books, personal development. And then like, I would say you leaned into a lot of like motherhood and kind of like raising boys and like that type of books. I don't know. Are there any standout kind of like, oh man, like reading that book, like we did that one thing from that book that like, you know, you feel like has really helped in the transition to two kiddos?
Yeah, I picked up this book during maternity leave. I think I actually found it from a photography friend that I follow online, and we'll link this book in the show notes. It has something to do with like the importance of like outdoor play. And so I just started reading this book, and it was just really inspiring to me because I love being outside with Kaizen specifically, and he loves being outside. And it almost just reaffirmed the fact that kids need to, specifically boys, need to be outside playing and outside barefoot even. And so, Stephen, we went in July, we always go somewhere for the 4th of July. That's my birthday. We try and go somewhere like with the beach. And I was reading this book and I was like, Stephen, Kaizen needs to run around barefoot. Like it's so good for them for all these reasons. And Stephen created this reel on his Instagram that he told Kaizen, like, start saying barefoot boy, barefoot boy. And
well, I was just saying it. I was like, barefoot boy, when we were walking, and Kaizen's like kind of jigging to it, like barefoot boy, barefoot boy. So now we say that like all the time. Whenever he doesn't have shoes on, we're like, barefoot boy, barefoot. And he starts like dancing to it. And he's like the biggest smile on his face. But
we like kind of run wild in the park. We have a park nearby in the creek, outdoors, barefoot. It's so good for their learning. And we've just noticed like Kai needs to get outside for several hours a day. It wasn't just about being outside barefoot, but it was allowing your kid to just explore and not always to have to entertain them. Like let them be bored and experience their imagination. And kids need like uninterrupted free play. And so I'll link this book below, but that was really cool. I'm learning. Yeah. I mean, I'm just learning so much that I feel like it all like meshes together, you know, like I'm reading and diving into, which we'll probably do an episode about. Steve and I is investing in a personal trainer, and I'm investing in some more like hormonal therapy and getting my minerals tested, making sure all of that is good with Dr. Lauren O'Neill. And I'm super excited to probably do a podcast episode about that once I get my results and everything. But like all of that plays into our business, like our mood, our mental health, like any past trauma, like it all goes hand in hand. And so that's why we talk about it on here too. And that's why you and I think in different parts of our life, like we've invested more in business because we need to go hard in that. And we are still investing in business, but we're also like making sure that you and I, like our marriage is strong. So we're investing in some like spiritual, like personal inner development with like our marriage. And we're both going on this health journey because it all affects everything.
Yeah, it's so true. I think maybe it's a theme kind of in this last season is just like learning to make sure everyone's like cup is filled up, right? If Chelsea's on social media, scrolling, being pulled in a million different directions, her cup isn't really filled up. She hasn't taken that time to fill up her cup. So she can't pour out, you know, to our kids and me. And like, same thing with me. If I don't take care of myself, I'm staying up super late. You know, and then I'm feeling sick the next day because I like worked on something too hard. Like then I'm not being a good dad. And then even with Kai, like in his transition to being a bigger brother with Ollie, there was a little bit of friction there. If you guys have 2 kids or you are having 2 kids, there is this kind of like transition that they have to go through between from being like the one to being one of two, and so Kai had a little bit of pushback, but once we learned how to fill his cup, right, by getting him outside, by spending intentional time with him, like, then he's such a bigger, such a more amazing big brother, right? A loving big brother. And so that's kind of been this kind of focus of the season, is like looking at our cups. I'm just using that analogy, but like being like, what gives you life? What fills you up so that you can pour out, because if you're not, it's kind of like in the airport, right? Or in the airplane, they're like, put your own mask on first, then put the mask on your kids, right? It's like, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not creating systems, boundaries, calendaring things that take care of yourself, you're not showing up as the best you for your family, your friends, your kids. And that's definitely been something in this season we've really looked at, is like, if we're growing something big, a powerful family legacy, a big business, how do we look at the roots, the foundation, and make sure those things are really strong so that we can grow this big thing without having cracks in the foundation that are going to end up making this thing fall, And so that's really been the season for us, like kind of very introspective, stepping into 2 kiddos. And I don't know, what do you see in the future, Chelsey? Like, as you're looking forward a little bit over the next year or two, with our boys and entrepreneurship and being a family, what gets you excited? What are you looking at?
Well, I want to back it up just a tiny bit more, and just like talk about this, because I think it's really important. And I'm sure once I'm fully on the other side, we'll do an even more in-depth exercise, an even more in-depth podcast episode, and give you an update. But when Ollie was 3 weeks old, he was hospitalized, and we had a very it was traumatic for me, traumatic hospital stay. Like I mentioned early in the podcast, Kaizen was sick for like the first month of Oliver's life, and Ollie was born 3 weeks early. And on top of that, he came home and did pick up whatever common cold that Kaizen had. But because he was so little, it affected him in a very different way. And so we went to the ER. I had you can listen to the full episode. I had this mom intuition that something was off with him. His coloring was weird. We took him in for what we thought would be a couple hours of monitoring at the ER. And within an hour of being there, he started having some pretty severe apnea. And the doctor was like, yeah, we're going to fly you to Sutter, which is a bigger hospital that has this very specific pediatric NICU. They handle babies and kids all the time. And so Oliver and I were airlifted there. And when we were leaving the hospital, when Oliver got discharged, there's no lingering side effects. He's all healthy and good. We had the best care ever, which I'm so grateful for. But leaving the hospital, you and I had a discussion, and I at the time really felt like I've let this trauma go. I've released it. And I did. I released a lot of it. But then a couple months later, Oliver randomly got sick and spiked a fever. And I realized my body had a physical response to the trauma that had happened with Oliver. And it was the first time I realized that there's still some trauma in my body that I haven't fully let go of. And then I don't know, probably a month ago or so, Oliver spiked a random fever one day. It was just a 1-day thing, and he was totally fine. And I still had a little bit of a reaction to thinking back to when Oliver was hospitalized. It wasn't as intense as the second time, but it was still intense for me. And shortly after, I had a conversation with a friend, and she just really called me out in a loving way. And I was just explaining, I think I still haven't fully dealt with everything with Oliver. And she's like, yeah, do you need to talk to somebody about that? So I am in the process of finding a counselor that I feel good and safe with, processing through some of that trauma that I might not even know is still stuck in my body, because I want to be the best version of myself for my boys and kids. And I don't want this experience that we have to linger longer than it needs to. And so I guess I'm just bringing this up because I came from a family where my mentality around counseling and help growing up, I had a negative stigma towards counseling, oh, well, you have issues if you're going to see a counselor. And it's well, we all have issues. And you and I have invested in counseling over the years, so I don't carry that with me. I think counseling is very healthy and good. But I want to be completely free of this, and I don't want it to hinder the way that I mother. And so why I'm bringing this up is because I know that people go through all kinds of things, and sometimes you live in the shadows as a mom, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder, it's like a traumatic birth that you haven't dealt with. Like those things affect us and affect our bodies more than we know. And I don't want to let this incident like hinder me as a business owner and mother. And because Steve and I are in a leadership position with our business, like we have employees under us, like I don't, and our boys, like I don't want anything to be hidden. I want it all to come to light. And so I guess this is me just saying like, we always have things to work on, and I'm looking forward to getting fully free from this incident. And I just want to encourage you, if there's something that's like, oh man, I'm getting triggered, or I had a traumatic, whatever it is, it's like you have no idea that could be holding you back from the next breakthrough you're supposed to be having, or like the next business thing. Like maybe a traumatic birth is actually what's holding you back from the next business launch or your fear or whatever it is. Like it's all connected. And so I just want to come out as being a vulnerable person and just say this incident with Oliver was more traumatic than I thought, but I am taking steps to become more whole and healed. And I'm looking into doing specifically EMDR therapy, which I've heard is really good. And I've had just some really incredible friends come around side of me and be like, this is good. And like, I'm so excited for you. So there we go, out in the world.
That's it, you guys. Just sharing the process with you, and that's a big value we have in Rainmakers is like, let's share the journey, because we might be a couple chapters ahead in some areas of business or whatever that is, or life, but you might be a couple chapters ahead than us, and we're not comparing. We're saying, let's work together to help each other, And so, thanks for listening to this story. It's so fun hearing your takeaways and your aha moments. Hopefully this is helpful to you in this season, whether you're stepping into more kiddos, you need a little more structure in your life, whatever that thing is that's jumping out to you from this episode. We always recommend go take action on it. Go do something with it. Go put it in your calendar, we'll be sharing more of this journey as we go.
Yeah. And you had asked me, what are you dreaming about as a mom of two, as a business owner? Like what is on the horizon? And I would say a couple of things. I'll go marriage, kids, business, and then just I'll lump life all together. So 4 things that I'm dreaming about that are just coming to mind right now. With marriage with you, Stephen, I am really looking forward to celebrating. I like crying. I'm really looking forward to celebrating 10 years of marriage with you in March. Cool. That's like a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That I'm excited for. And I think I'm crying because I know all the hard work that we've put into our marriage and understanding each other. And like, I'm really proud of the life that we've created together. Like, it's better. It's so much better than I ever thought we would have. And like, I was always super stoked to marry you and like be doing life together. But like, you've pushed me to like be my best version of me. So I'm really excited about like the growth we're going to have. Steven and I are investing a good amount of money this year into like, I would say like marriage counseling with another couple that we look up to. And so I'm excited to dive deeper into more freedom because I think, we need to have a strong marriage and a strong foundation to where we're going. So okay, let's lighten it up a little bit. So marriage. And then I said, let's go our boys.
Yep.
Like, man, I love babies. I love Ollie is almost 7 months and Kaizen will be 3 in a couple of months, which is wild to me. And I love the stage that Ollie's in. He is cute.
So
he is chunky.
Always happy.
Always happy. He doesn't roll over a ton. So he's just like cute and happy and he stays still, which is so fun for me. I love him. And Kaizen is just like this. Kaizen is so emotionally intelligent. He is this beautiful, sweet, funny, adventurous boy. And he is such a strong leader. And I'm so excited to see just his character develop. And right now I'm loving watching Kaizen and Ollie connect. Like Kaizen loves Oliver and he asks to hold him. And I asked him the other night, like, what is your favorite thing about being a big brother? And he said, playing with Ollie, playing with Ollie. So they are
Yeah.
connecting, like
Yeah.
Ollie lights up around Kai.
So good.
And I'm just excited for the fun adventures and the memories we build. And Kaizen is definitely like recognizing like what mommy and daddy do for work. And so I'm excited to continue to pull our boys into our mission and have them a part of our business. Business wise, man, I love what we do. Like we are on a mission to become the number one place for moms to make income online. And I am so excited about the families that we're going to impact and the generational and the dreams that our Rainmakers have. Like, I want to be the biggest cheerleader for a mom or a dad or a family, like whatever that dream is, whether it's the $1 million beach home, the $10 million business exit, like whatever it is, like I want to be the biggest cheerleader possible. And I believe and I know that if people follow the framework that Stephen and I have fought hard for, that our team has poured hours into, I know that if they follow the framework and don't give up and don't choose the easy path, like I know that they will see results. And so when people cross huge, big milestones or small milestones in Rainmakers, I just like, it's just like a party every day when I see those messages.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to impact more lives and reach more people. I'm so proud of our team. And then, okay, so that was 2, marriage, boys, business. Oh, 3. Okay. And then life, gosh, man, we're building a back unit in our backyard. This is kind of random. We haven't really talked about it. Like a mother-in-law unit, an ADU, an Airbnb, whatever.
I guess ADU is like a California thing.
I guess it is.
It's
Additional
like a back house
unit. We're working with an amazing designer in town, Nicole Enns. And I'm excited for that to be finished in the coming year. It's beautiful. And I'm excited for the people we're going to have stay with us and come and visit. I think that's just a life thing. It's been a dream of mine to have. And I'm excited for the travel that we're going to do. We have some fun travel ideas. And I'm just excited to become a better version of myself. So, yeah, Stephen is an amazing entrepreneur you love the process. Like you love every single stage of entrepreneurship, like the good, the hard, you take that as a challenge and you run with it. And I'm so inspired by that. Like you love every part. And I think that you'll always own some kind of business. And for me, like that side of entrepreneurship has been a challenge, the in the weeds, when things are hard, pushing through, like really enjoying every phase. And I think this last year especially has taught me to really enjoy every phase. Like I have the hard to look back on and be like, but look where you've come, And I think I have a greater depth and appreciation for the valleys more than ever. And so not that I'm saying and prophesying that are speaking into existence that we're going to have valleys or anything, but like I'm just enjoying the season and enjoying who I'm becoming, because I feel like I'm becoming each and every day as I step in and I say yes without any fear. I'm becoming this better, beautiful, more whole person. And I have you to thank for a lot of that. So thanks for pushing me.
So good. Wow. Amen. So awesome. Wow. If you're leaving this episode feeling inspired, share this with a friend. You know how it goes at the Rainmaker family shows.
Show it up to a friend.
Share it up.
Share it
Share
up
it up.
with a friend.
Take off your shoes, barefoot boys.
Barefoot boys.
Get outside. Okay. Time to end the show. We need some food. We're getting a little delirious over here.
I need to take off my sweatshirt. It's getting a little sweaty.
Yeah. But that was so powerful, Chelsey. Way to go. You are amazing. And you just carry a lot of power in those words. I know you can bring a lot of freedom to people, even this episode.
I appreciate you.
Stay tuned. Future episodes coming out. We got like a whole list of things we want to talk about on this show. We always we have a note and we're like, oh, we got to talk about that. Oh, we got to talk about that. So we got a whole list of fun stuff like this. If you like these personal episodes, definitely reach out to Chelsey on Instagram.
I would love to know.
Just go to her personal Instagram. It's Chelsey_Diaz. Send her a message like, hey, I love the personal episodes, because we do a lot of interviews and stuff, but we'd love to hear feedback from you if you like this style episode. And if you do that, it goes right to her. If you go to like the Rainmaker family, it goes to a team member who helps us like run the social media. So if you want to talk directly to Chelsey, you could hit her up on Instagram at Chelsey_Diaz.
Yes.
So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Hey, if you are not a part of our Rainmaker Mastermind, we have a new opportunity for you to book a one-on-one strategy call with one of our Rainmaker coaches.
If you want to get a call with them, see if it's a good fit for you to work with us to build a business that allows you to have time freedom and financial freedom, you can get that call at makeItrainmama.com/podcast. That's makeItrainmama, MOMMA.com/podcast.